Much more. We're seeing one
There
now.
it is, look.
Wow.
This is no ordinary balloon,
Is
though,
it not?
Chetan. This is the balloon that, well, in this state, people might not entirely recognise it, but
Well,
it's the symbol of the BBC for many, many years.
If you tilt your head to one side, if you cock your head kind of over your left shoulder, it then makes all sense, because it's that hot air balloon that had it was the globe, wasn't it? Map of the globe, red, orange, white. And it used to be used in the 90s in all those trails you see on the BBC. It's been restored. It's been packed away in a bag for 20 years. It's now on display, kind of semi-display, at the Midlands Air Festival. Fiona Lambden is going to explain all. Hi, Fiona.
Hello, yes, it will be on display when the wind lets it be on display. So it has been being tethered all morning, but the wind's got up, so at the moment it's just on its side. As one balloonist said to me earlier, it's much better being on the ground wishing you were up in the sky than up in the sky desperately wishing you were back down on the ground. Yes, she's been in a bag for over 20 years, but they've restored her, and now she's back. I've been taking a look back at just how she got here. It was the defining image on BBC1 for almost 5 years, between 97 and 2002. A real balloon with over 100 hours of flying time and many more of airtime. Filmed in 30 different locations, including the Scottish Highlands, Snowdonia and Grey Abbey in Northern Ireland. In 2000, the BBC wanted the balloon to become more inclusive, so it was filmed with skateboarders, a carnival, and even a bungee jumper. But eventually, in 2002, it was time for it to retire.
It's had 100 hours of flying time.
And Breakfast's very own John Kay was on the last flight with its pilot, James Mossman.
Being on BBC1 was just something that was just never been done before.
And 21 years ago, it was put into a big bag, which was put into storage and completely forgotten about, until now.
A friend of ours in North Bristol said he had a shape for us, for our collection to look after, and when we went to collect that one, he said he had another two, and the BBC Globe was part of it.
What did you think?
Well, it's quite surreal, because when I was a child, I remember it on telly, seeing the BBC Idents and stuff, and to have it there in your garage, it's quite surreal.
And for the last 4 months, these Bristol brothers have been restoring it. Hundreds of stitches around the mouth, cleaning and painting.
Red tends to fade a bit more than any other colour. If you were to put this bottom half of the envelope through a grab test, which is an MOT pretty much for balloons, I reckon it would pass easy. So 26 years ago, were all these clouds hand-painted? Yes, so they'd have staff at the Camerons. I don't know how many they'd use, but yeah, they would have hand-painted every single cloud on this envelope. Nowadays, they use digital printing, so painting's long gone now.
And as the paint dries, the globe is ready for inflation. After 2 decades, she is filled with hot air again as she gets ready to meet her public. Well, Peter is with us this morning, and he has a huge amount of history with this balloon because you were in charge of finding all the locations and then taking it and flying it and seeing it in all the different places. Tell us about just one of the very interesting rides you had.
We did some filming in Northern Ireland, and one of the locations was the Stramford Lock. We were asked to fly over the water. It was an evening flight, so we had the lovely sunsets. And when we'd finished the filming, the helicopter pilot decided to take a low pass over the top of the balloon, which took the top of the parachute out and basically dropped us about 200 feet into the water.
In the basket?
In the basket.
And how quickly did you drop?
Quickly. Straight into the water. We were in the water for about 5 minutes. We were trawling along the water. We managed to re-inflate the balloon and then obviously land it safely. But the next morning when we dried it out, we found a jellyfish in the bottom of the basket. So because it's a sea lock, there was a jellyfish in the bottom, so we had an extra passenger.
Wow, amazing.
Thank you for that. Well, let's just come over to Nick. Nick, you are part of Cameron Balloons. You were there right when she was made all those years ago, and then you've been part of her restoration now.
Absolutely,
just tell me about what it was like when she was made, how people were on their hands and knees painting her.
Well, we hadn't got the modern technology that we have now with plotters and computer designing systems, so it was very much a handcrafted vehicle, and it was all done with a team of about 15 graphic artists, all painting the continents. The sewing of the major continents was all split in, but all of the little details, the islands and things, all done by hand and painted. And it was a massive task, all laid out on our factory floor in Bedminster, Bristol.
And she survived so well. I mean, she's in good condition now.
It's fantastic to see it after so long. I mean, we've had it in the factory for some titivation, putting it back into good order, but as a whole, she's in brilliant condition. I just had a look at the fabric. We breathe through the fabric. It looks quite bizarre, but we suck it to see if it's porous, and actually it's quite airtight. And in fact, the other thing we're going to do is we got to tensile test the fabric to see if it's strong enough, and you know, the feel of it feels really good. I think it's going to be good to sit.
OK, brilliant. Well, listen, just before we go, I'm going to just take you over to meet the pilot. Good morning to you, Ian.
Morning.
Now, you're the one who's really had... I'm going to go this side so we can see her in the background. Look, just look through there. You've had a little time with her this morning. Just tell me, Ian, what was she... Do you feel like she wanted to go when you were in the basket this morning?
Yeah, we're always hopeful that a balloon can fly. And certainly when we were tethering, we felt that it wanted to go flying. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, with a little bit of work on it, a few tests and all the procedures, we'll hopefully be able to take it flying before too long.
Brilliant. Well, you've heard it there. We're going to finish with a shot straight down there. Hopefully it won't be too long before you see it up in the skies.
Fiona, it's been a real trip. A real journey watching you this morning with that balloon, and a real trip down memory lane. Thank you so much.
Be careful with it.